My husband, who'd always refused to take me on the annual family trip, suddenly wanted me to come along, so I booked a ticket to see what was really going on. Turns out, I was only invited as a free nanny and cook. Oh boy, they never saw this coming on their flight back home. This is my first time posting here on Reddit, so please go easy in case there are any errors in formatting or typos. I, 29, female, have been with my husband Ryan, 33, male, for 4 years, married for 2, and everything's always been great between us except for one thing: he never takes me with him on his annual family trips. That's literally never been an option, and it has been the only bone of contention between the two of us, and I have never been able to figure out why he would do such a thing. For the first year that we were dating, he told me that his family takes an annual vacation every year and they get away for a couple of days. I thought that it was a pretty cool tradition, given the fact that I don't come from a very healthy family myself. My parents are divorced, and we never had the opportunity to do stuff like this. I was looking forward to doing things like this with a family after we got married. The second year of us being together, I expected him to ask me to accompany him because we had been together for quite some time. We were pretty serious and were even living together, but he did not ask me, and I found it a bit awkward. But after that, I did not think much and figured that maybe he was waiting for us to get married so we could go on these trips. But even last year, after we had been married for a couple of months, he did not ask me to accompany him. That was when I was pretty disappointed, and before he left, I decided to ask him why he hadn't invited me to come with them on the trip. He seemed very confused and told me that he had just assumed that I would not want to accompany them. I don't know why he would do such a thing, because I had repeatedly told him that I liked the idea of such family trips together and would have loved to be a part of one. He knew that I was a child of divorce and had a weird childhood, so I enjoyed doing things like this. It was not even as though I did not get along well with his family. His parents loved me, and so did his older sister, her husband, and kids. So I got along well with everyone. I did not understand why he did not think I would want to come along with them. We had a discussion about it last year, and we got into a fight before he left for the trip because even after I had expressed my interest in being part of it, he had still not invited me to come along. I was feeling very insulted by that, so because of how upset I was, I decided to confront him and pick a fight about it, because I thought that it was totally necessary for me to get to the bottom of it. So, a couple of days before he was supposed to leave for the trip with his family, we fought, and I asked him why he had still not invited me to come along, even after I had expressed my interest in being a part of this. Because, as my husband, he should have known that I wanted to go along with him and spend time with him and his family. He finally told me that it was not just that he had assumed I would not want to accompany him, it was also the fact that his family was not entirely comfortable with me accompanying them. I was really hurt by that because I had always assumed that I got along with them, as I had mentioned earlier, and there had been absolutely no signs of them being uncomfortable or uneasy around me. They always treated me like family whenever I visited them, so I did not see that coming in the slightest. He told me that he had given me another reason and sort of lied to me to spare my feelings, but the real truth was that his family still wasn't comfortable enough with me to take a trip together. They were fine with me visiting them on important events and the holidays and spending time with them at that point. And a trip was a big deal, they were not ready for that yet. They believed that if I accompanied them, they would have to be extra formal the entire time, and it would just be really awkward. So they wanted to spend a few more years with me, get to know me better, and then they would extend an invitation to me. The only reason that my sister-in-law's husband got to be part of these trips was because they were high school sweethearts, and my husband's family had known him for a really long time, so it was different for them. But with me, they were not ready yet, and as hard as it felt, I still had to accept it. If they were not comfortable with me, I couldn't force my presence on them, and it was not Ryan's fault, so I couldn't blame him for it, and I had to accept it. I was very confused about my feelings at the time, so I let him go without any further fuss about this. But when he was gone for that 1 week, I did some introspection, and I decided that I was going to try and really make myself a part of the family so that my in-laws feel comfortable enough to take me on a trip with them. And they don't have to act formal and ultra-polite around me. I tried to understand where they were coming from and made sure that in the next couple of months, I made them feel comfortable around me, and I went out of my way for that. Because I did not get along well with my own family, I wouldn't want to have a strained relationship with my in-laws as well. I guess you guys might have guessed that I'm a bit of a people pleaser by now. I really wanted my in-laws to like me. So, after my husband told me that they did not feel comfortable enough with me yet, I started going out of my way to be nice to them. After they returned from the trip, I guess Ryan told them about the discussion that we had earlier, and we had a family discussion where they apologized for not inviting me and explained to me that because, otherwise, Ryan and his sister were always busy and didn't really get to spend time with their family. Ryan is an investment banker, which is a taxing job, and his sister and her husband are in the medical field, so they're also pretty busy most of the time. They do get together with their parents every once in a while, but they have always had this tradition, and they wanted to follow through on it. They did not realize that this would make me feel left out, and they apologized to me from the bottom of their hearts. They also said that they would try and meet me halfway and try to make me feel more included and make me feel part of the family. It was a much-needed discussion, and after that, I decided to try and get to know them independently as well, which is what I meant when I said I started going out of my way. Even if my husband wouldn't be visiting his parents, I would still try and make it a point to go see them every once in at least 2 weeks. And whenever I would visit them, we would have a nice time together, or at least that's what I thought was happening. They seemed to be enjoying my company. I think anybody else in my place would have felt the same way because they put on false happy faces, and it was really hard to decide whether they were acting or not. Anyway, I had assumed that they were having a nice time with me, and they enjoyed my visits, so I kept doing it. I would not be there all the time, of course, but occasionally. They had said that they would try to meet me halfway and make me feel part of the family, so I had no reason to assume that they were getting annoyed by these visits. But apparently, that's the reason that they gave my husband this year, as they refused to invite me yet again, and that pretty much broke my heart. Because I had really tried to be a part of the family and be there for them as their daughter-in-law, and yet all of that went in vain. This happened a couple of days ago, and when I found out about it, I was heartbroken because I had really felt that my in-laws and I were getting along well, and I could expect to be a part of the family trip this year. Last week, Ryan told me that they had finally decided that the family was going to California this year for the annual vacation. I was really excited because I thought that I was going to be part of that trip this year, but then he went on talking about it and mentioned nothing about me. So when I asked him if I would be part of the trip this year or not, he seemed kind of upset and said that his parents hadn't mentioned anything about it, but I knew that he was lying. So after some convincing, he finally told me that his parents had said that they were kind of done with me. Apparently, I had been visiting them a little too frequently, and they needed some space. They believed that I had been trying way too hard and was kind of forcing my presence on them, even when they had made it very clear that they needed some space. I did not know what they were talking about because they had not made anything clear, and every time that I visited them or spoke to them, they seemed to have been enjoying it. I told Ryan about it, and he told me that he had tried to convince his parents, but they were pretty stubborn about this, and said that I was not welcome this year.